What we'll study today is about the applications on van der Waals real gas equation, okay, and how these applications are going to help us understand the real gases better, okay. So normally what we have learned is that when it comes to a real gas equation, it would look like this: P plus a n square by v square into v minus nb is equal to nRT. This is what we have learned, okay. Now in this, if you observe, suppose if at all I take a low pressure region. When I say low pressure region, low pressure implies large volume. You still have a large volume, right guys? If it is a large volume, now if you compare the volume of the container compared to that of the NB here, if you compare these two, this is too small, correct? We can always ignore this, okay. That's what we are doing now. So we are ignoring NB factor, okay. So which implies we can write P plus a n square by v square into v is equal to nRT. And the reason for ignoring that is the particle size as compared to that of the volume of the container is too small when we are taking this at low pressures. So we are talking at low pressure regions, got it. So if that is the case, what I can say that we can write it as P plus a n square by v square into v is equal to nRT. Let me multiply this as PV plus a n square by v is equal to nRT, okay. What if I multiply this entire equation with 1 by nRT, we will get this as PV by nRT is equal to 1 minus a n square by RT into nRT into V, and one n will get cancelled here. So we know that PV by nRT is nothing but compressibility factor Z, which can be written as 1 minus an by RTV, okay. So this is the equation which we will get, and this is an important conclusion for us. So what does this tells us? This gives us two important terms here. One, if a value increases, you can see z value is decreasing. If a value increases, z value will decrease, right? So which means more the amount of depth. If you check it out, suppose earlier when we were discussing about the Boyle's temperature, we got this is z is equal to 1 graph, and we got two other graphs like this, okay. One going this way, and towards higher pressure again it is bending towards this is how it goes. And anything which is about Boyle's temperature, it would go something like this is about Boyle's temperature, okay. So if z is less than 1 and I have multiple gases to compare, I can check, I can tell this that anything which has more amount of depth like this, if I compare these two, let's say this is gas 1 and this is gas 2, any two gases, the one which has more depth at a particular pressure, okay, at a particular pressure, the one which has more depth, I can say that would have that would have larger a value because its z value is even low, okay. So I can say that if you compare value of a for gas 1 with value of a for gas 2, if you compare these two, you can check it out that gas 2 has more amount of value of a as compared to that of gas 1. So that's a very important conclusion. And also you can see when at a low pressure, when we are talking, the contribution of B is very less for compressibility factor, okay. So whenever we discuss about compressibility factor, there is hardly any contribution of B here. So I hope you understood that. So this is the formula you would be applying for all the gases, okay, which is not hydrogen and helium, except hydrogen and helium. All other gases at room temperature, so that means from 0 degrees towards room temperature, almost like 25 degrees centigrade, we see most gases, except hydrogen and helium deviates negatively, or deviates with value Z less than 1 under low pressure region, So that is the important takeaway from this particular equation. Okay, so I guess you understood that. So this is when you have low pressure, got it? What if we have a high pressure here now? Okay, so let us see the fact that what happens in case if we have a high pressure region. Got it. So this was I took it as case 1. So now let me take it as case 2. If at all I have high pressure. So at high pressure, what is happening? Compare this carefully now. When we say high pressure, at high pressure, HP, high pressure, volume of container is very small. Volume of container is very small. So when volume of container is very small, then volume of container and volume of particles, okay, these two are comparable. If these two are comparable, I cannot ignore this volume of container minus NB, because both of these values are comparable. Okay, so here NB, okay, cannot be ignored. Well, if this can't be ignored, let us go to this point now. P of gas, the real gas, plus A n square by V square multiplied by Vc minus Nb, because this can't be ignored, is equal to nRT is what we know. Now observe it carefully here. When you are comparing P and A n square by V square, think like this. When the pressure is around 1 degree, 1 atm, if it is around 1 atm, this value, was around maybe 0.0005 atm, very small amount, correct? As you go towards 10 atm, maybe this has increased to 0.0009 maybe, or 0.001, like that. Okay, as you go towards 100 atm, got it, then the increase in this may have come almost to that of 0.009, maybe 10 times here also, got it? So my point is 1 atm and this are still little bit more comparable as compared to 100 atm and something like 0.001. That means the increase in this scale, okay, is much lesser than increase in this scale. So this scale increases at a much faster rate as compared to the A n square by V square increase. So what you would observe is that pressure, when you are taking at 100 degrees, 200, 300, 400, these are all very high pressures, got it? So between, usually when we say high pressure, it is around 100 to 400 degree, 400 atm pressure. So under those pressures, although this factor is big enough, as compared to that of 400, it would still be ignorant. So in this case, we can say that pressure of the gas versus A n square by V square, if we check out, we can still ignore this. Ignore it due to less comparable values. Because of less comparable values, okay. Now what would happen to the equation now? So it is P into V minus NB is equal to nRT. So if we do that, now if I multiply this, we'll get PV minus PNB is equal to nRT. So I'm doing the same fundamental here also. I'm multiplying by 1 by nRT on both the sides. So that would give me PV by nRT is equal to 1 plus PB by RT. So we'll get 1 plus PB by RT. Okay. So therefore Z would be equal to 1 plus PB by RT. Okay. So this is an equation you will get when you are operating at high pressures. So for all the gases at high pressures, you can see Z value is greater than 1. So which is mathematically also seen. Got it? And earlier also when we were discussing about Boyle's temperature, we have seen that as it goes towards high pressure, you can see all of this. As it goes towards the high pressure, it will again go towards the deviation where Z is greater than 1. Okay. I guess this is clear now. Now the last case, third case, is at very low pressure, very low pressure, also termed as VLP, very low pressure. At very low pressure, I can say that these two comparisons, P plus A n square by V square and V minus NB is equal to nRT in this real gas equation. I can say that we can ignore this, we can ignore this as well. So both are ignorant. So for that we can say it would be PV is equal to nRT, which means it is behaving like an ideal gas. So real gas behaves like an ideal gas. Okay. So we get two conclusions from here, students. One thing, there is a certain point where real gases will start behaving like an ideal gas. So we got two important points here. One, at very low pressure, at very low pressure. Second, at Boyle's temperature, at Boyle's temperature. In these two cases, real gases behave like ideal gases. Okay. So these are the two values what we got. Got it? Now, if you check out, when it in the case of, first let me explain this. So this will make more sense. Suppose if you have to compare a real gas versus an ideal gas, generally this was taken for hydrogen gas. Actually this was taken for H2 gas, and a similar situation comes for all other gases as well. So this was taken for H2 gas here. Yeah. Now check this. If it is an ideal gas compared to the real gas, which I take it as H2 as an example, then the pressure, if you see the volume gap here, got it, is much higher as compared to that of the pressure gap here. Got it? So that means even if you take it at a particular volume, if you see this particular volume here and here, okay, so you can see these two values, correct? These are the pressure values. So there is a difference in the pressure there. Okay, or in short, what we have discussed earlier, Z value, which is V real by V ideal at constant temperature, pressure and number of moles. This is what we have discussed compressibility factor as, right? And if you check out this diagram, what we can say that at a particular constant pressure, right, at a constant pressure, you can see that volume of the real gas is more than that of from graph, so from graph we can say volume of real gas is greater than that of volume of an ideal gas. Okay, mommy will type. Take 1 second, guys. So therefore we can say that here Z would be greater than 1, but at which case it is happening at high pressures, at high pressures, and this was taken at room temperature, usually taken at room temperature. Another thing what we have found that if the temperature is decreased, just let me go back to the graph here, what we discussed about nitrogen gas. Let me take this and explain you once again. So let me take this. Now if you compare this for a particular gas, can you see that as the temperature increases, the dip is increasing, which means as you go towards this dip at different temperatures, Z value is more and more dipping as you decrease the temperature. So for from here I can make one conclusion that gases usually behave ideal, gases usually behave ideal under, okay, low pressure, under low pressure and high temperature. This statement question has been asked in JEE multiple number of times. So please try to remember this, what we are trying to say, that at high pressure and low pressure and high temperature, usually gases will have least amount of interaction. Therefore, they would behave more like an ideal gas. In all other cases, they would behave like an real gas. So like if at all I take high pressure or mid-range pressure or low pressure, right? I mean, if you take at low temperature, these are all the cases where we usually have real gas behavior, but otherwise we will have ideal gas behavior. I guess you understood that. Now, suppose if I take all different gases, okay, so different gases, different different gases at a particular temperature, at a particular temperature. So if I take it at a particular temperature, right, this was in fact taken at 273 kelvins. This graph was taken at 273 kelvins, which is 0 degree centigrade. At this, if I plot Z versus P for various gases, okay, we found this as the conclusion that how the variation is. You can see that for hydrogen and helium, you can see for hydrogen and helium, it is always going to be positive. That is what we discussed yesterday, day before yesterday. And if you consider these two gases, CO and CH4, you can see if the dip of this is more, can I say that A value for CH4 will be more? This is one conclusion you should be able to get. So if you compare carbon monoxide and CH4, I can say CH4 will have larger A value and CO will have smaller A value. Okay. So like this, if I start comparing all the different gases, I can get one simple conclusion here. So I will give few values also. This would be helpful for us. See. So at a particular pressure, at a particular temperature, we can say that if I consider, if I compare various molecule with respect to their A values, it has been seen that for oxygen it is around 1.382. Not that you have to remember the values, we are trying to make one conclusion out of it. For nitrogen it is 1.37. For methane it was found to be 2.28. For carbon dioxide it was found to be 3.64. Similarly, for NH3, A value is found out to be 4.225. H2O is found out to be 5.5. SO2 is found to be 6.8. and H2 is found to be 0.24. Okay. See, in this there are two factors. There are for a value to increase or decrease. There are two factors which are mostly contributing. Two factors contributing for a values. Contributing for a values. First thing, intermolecular size. Intermolecular size. Second thing is about the dipole moment, whether the molecule is polar or non-polar. Got it? So that are the major factors which are contributing. So we can't say like which is more dominant. Okay, so that is why the values are important for us. So from the based on the values, I can make an order for A. Okay, order of A values. If you check this out, I can say that helium has the least, then compared to H2, then nitrogen, oxygen, carbon monoxide, then CH4, then CO2, NH3, NH3, then we have H2O, then SO2. Correct? Usually, any of the four or five could be asked. So, I would suggest that you better memorize this, because it is not only on one particular basis. It is not only on a dipole or an intermolecular size basis. So, it is better to remember. B is purely on size basis. The one which has more size, higher size, will always have more amount of interactions. Got it? Why it is happening, like, intermolecular size is directly proportional to van der Waal interactions. If you just recall van der Waal interactions, what we call it as the London forces. So ultimately it is all about intermolecular forces only, but those forces are being done by two important regions or two types of van der Waal interactions. One is a London forces, the other one is a dipole forces. So one may contribute, one may supersede over the other in different molecules. So that's why you better remember this value. So I hope you guys understood that part. Okay. So this is about how the gases, how the Z value is becoming an important contribution, right, while checking this. Now the next important term which you need to learn out of this chapter is critical parameters. Critical parameters. In short, critical parameters are given by PC, TC and VC. So pressure, temperature as well as volume, okay, of real gases at certain values is what we call it as critical parameters. Okay. To learn critical parameters, we have to go through an understanding of liquefaction of gases. So in short, how do we liquefy the gases? How do we liquefy the gases is what our next concept is. Okay. First, there are many definitions of critical temperature. So I'll be taking one of them. It is critical temperature is the maximum temperature up to which real gas can be liquefied. Real gas can be liquefied. Correct? Above which we cannot liquefy uh, any gases. Other definition, you know, is temperature, the temperature at which, okay, liquid, vapor and gas coexist is called critical temperature. critical temperature. This is another way of defining it. Or one more definition, the temperature above which gas cannot be liquefied by only applying external pressure. These are the three important definitions for critical temperature. Got it? So based on critical temperature, I can define critical pressure as well. So which is the minimum. This is only one definition. Minimum pressure applied at critical temperature. Minimum pressure applied at critical temperature to liquefy the gas is known as critical pressure. Okay. Critical volume is the volume of 1 mole of real gas at critical temperature and critical pressure, PC. Critical temperature and critical pressure is known as critical volume. So what are these important terms? What are these three important terms here, right? So one is a critical temperature, one is critical pressure, the other one is critical volume. And how they are related with each other is what we will learn, for which we require the isotherms of carbon dioxide. So I'll draw it from here only. These are the isotherms of carbon dioxide gas. Okay, and this was first started by Andrews. So these are also called as Andrews isotherms. So what does this tell about? What does this graph tell us? Let us see. Okay, so basically if we take at any higher temperature, okay, if we go from any higher temperature, suppose P versus V, if you check out for carbon dioxide, it would usually vary this way. Got it? If it is varying this way, it is like an exponentially decreasing function, guys. This is how it is going. It is exponentially decreasing function, means it is in agreement with ideal gas. Okay, so yes, it is in agreement with ideal gas. Okay, but as you keep decreasing the temperature and you bring to a particular point, got it, at this point, this is around 31 degrees for carbon dioxide, 31 degrees centigrade. At 31 degrees, you would see this side of the part, like you can check it out, this side of the part here, this side of the part is still in agreement with the ideal gas, but suddenly at this point it is not looking like an exponentially decreasing function. Exponentially decreasing function should be something like this, like what we see it in Boyle's law. But when it comes to this P versus V graph, which should be like this, it should be like this, it should go like this, but it is not going like this. Or if this is the line, it should go something like this, but somewhere there is a problem coming in between. So that means it is violating somewhere here and here, it is violating, right, the ideal gas behavior from here. So this is that particular temperature where it started changing its behavior from ideal gas behavior towards the real gas behavior. So which means at around 31 degrees centigrade for carbon dioxide, it started showing its real gas behavior. Above that, it is a high temperature which is sufficient enough that it is almost like an ideal gas. Okay. So from this point, the behavior has changed now. Now, as you go down, the behavior has become even worse. You see, it almost became like this. So there is a sudden change in the phase and pressure is increasing this way. Which means, can you see that at this point, no matter how much pressure you apply, the volume is not changing at all. It is the same volume. It can only happen when the gas has been converted into liquid. So from here, I can point out one thing, that this entire zone which is present, this entire zone, got it, from here, this is all liquid zone only. This is all liquid zone, because from here everything has converted into liquid. This is all liquid zone. Okay. And this entire zone which is present here, right? So if you can check this entire zone on this side, 1 minute. Yeah, if you check out this entire zone here, this entire zone is actually an ideal gas zone, which means it is a gas zone. It is a gas zone. Okay. And the zone on this side, if you check out the zone on this side here, below the critical temperature here, this is the zone, okay, which is neither liquid nor gas, which means it is vapor. It is a vapor zone. And the dome which you are seeing, the dome is actually having a liquid vapor equilibrium. So the dome, right, the dome which appears is a liquid vapor equilibrium. Have you guys got this so far? Right? So this is how it has been present now. What we can say from here? What are all the important conclusions we can make out? Let us try to find out. I'll give some labeling at every point. Check out these points carefully. Suppose if we have a gas analyzing at this point, and I call this as a point A, this I'll call it as point B, and this as already point C given. Okay, and let's say some point here as point O, and some point here as point P, and some point here as point R. So I hope you guys are with me on this. Now check this out. Suppose if at all I say that I started the gas at point R. At point R, it would have some amount of volume, it would have some amount of pressure. Okay, which means just by increasing the pressure, please keep following the arrow, just by increasing the pressure, volume will decrease, and suddenly at this pressure, drastic change in the volume has happened, which means this vapor must have suddenly converted into a liquid drop. So any content which was in vapor, when it converts into a liquid drop, suddenly the volume decreases. So there is a drastic decrease in the volume here, and from here, as I start increasing the pressure, I am seeing that there is hardly any change in the volume, because liquids are relatively incompressible as compared to gases which are highly compressible. Liquids are incompressible. So that's why we are seeing that this entire zone which is present is of a liquids zone only. And here what we have is just at this point A, we have converted into liquid, which means, can I say on this side it is still behaving slightly like an ideal gas, because you can see the graph which is almost like an exponentially decreasing function. From here this function should have gone like this, somewhere like this it should have gone, but instead of going this way, it has changed the route to this side, which means my real gas equation is most valid in this A to B situation, because this side almost it is an ideal gas only, because it is at a low pressure region. And I told you about ideal gas. When does it behave ideal gas? When it is at a very when it is at a low pressure and high temperature, correct? Well, temperature is not very high, but pressure is very low here. So I can still say that it is almost like an ideal gas behavior. Although it is a real gas, I'm saying it has more ideal gas nature. But the minute it is reaching towards B, this ideal gas behavior is increasing. Okay. So what I can say from that is, suppose from from point from point R towards B, towards O, and towards A, if you check this out, okay, gas is behaving like real gas, right? So it has more real gas behavior. So if it has more real gas behavior, I would definitely say that P plus A n square by V square into V minus NB is equal to nRT is applicable. It is applicable, correct? So at this point it is applicable. We are operating at a constant temperature because these are isotherms, right? And from point B towards A, hardly there is any pressure also changing. So at these 2 points, pressure and temperature is almost constant. From point from point uh, B to A, temperature, pressure, number of moles is almost constant. Well, number of moles is anyway constant. So suppose if at all I take it for 1 mole of a gas, for 1 mole of a gas, the equation will turn out to be P plus A square, A by V square into V minus B is equal to RT. This is what it will happen. If at all I open this, I will get this as PV plus A V square, A by V, because that VV get cancelled here, minus PB minus AB by V square is equal to RT. This is what we will have. Okay, keep following me on this. Again, take LCM on both the sides. So we would get this as PV cube plus AV minus PBV square minus AB is equal to RTV square. So I hope you guys are following that, how I took the LCM here, and V square I have taken it to the right hand side. Now dividing both sides, now so let me bring that V square on one side, implies if I bring this V square on the other side, I will get this as PV cube minus of PB plus RT into V square plus AV minus AB is equal to 0. This is what I'll get. Dividing both sides, by P. So I will get this as V cube minus B plus RT by P, because I am dividing that by P, into V square plus A by P into V minus AB by P equal to 0. Now if you observe this, this is actually an equation of a 3-degree polynomial. So this is a 3-degree polynomial equation. It must have 3 roots, correct? Got it? Either 2 imaginary, 1 real, or all 3 real. Sorry. So now between A to B, it may definitely have 1 root for sure, maybe other 2 are imaginary. Got it? But my point is, suppose if we keep on trying to make this, now check carefully guys, if at all I try to make this point from A, if it is approaching towards C, B also approaching towards C, okay, that means it is a point at critical temperature. So at critical temperature, all the roots of the volume are only becoming C or not, because at critical temperature we have only one value of critical volume, and that is this one. Okay, let me put that in the graph as well. So the volume occupied at critical temperature is what we call it as critical volume. So there is only one value of volume at critical temperature, right? And this is an important information for us. So which means all three roots are becoming equal and same. Okay. Suppose algebraically, how I can say, based on algebra, you can say this, right? V minus Vc whole cube, if at all I take this equation, this is equal to 0. I ask you how many roots this equation has. What should be the answer? How many roots do we have here? Right, so three roots are there, and all three roots are equal. So there are three roots and all are equal, correct? So suppose if at all I open this, we will get this as v cube minus 3v v square vc plus 3v vc square minus vc cube is equal to 0. Let me consider this as equation 2 and this as equation 1. Okay. Now if you compare this equation 1 and 2, I should get the critical volume, as because I am comparing the same thing. At that particular point C, we will have critical volume only, and that should be equal values, and it should be only one row. I mean the value should be only 1. So if you compare that, you can see how the comparison is. Here it is 3Vc is comparable to this one. 3Vc is comparable to this. So let me just put that 3 times of Vc is equal to B plus RT by P. This is one comparison I got. Second comparison is 3 times of Vc square is equal to A by P. And the last comparison is Vc cube is equal to AB by P. So this is the third comparison which I got. Okay. Now we'll use this here. Let me call this as equation 3, this as equation 4, and this as equation 5. If at all I divide equation 5 by equation 4, let's see what we get. We will get Vc cube divided by 3Vc square will be equal to that. A by P will get cancelled. I will be left out with only B, which means it is Vc is equal to 3 times of B. So this is one important conclusion we got. The critical volume of a real gas will always be equal to 3 times of its B value. Now since we got 3B here, if at all I put that back in equation 4, in equation 4 if at all I put, correct? So I would get that as 3 times of 3B whole square, 3B whole square is equal to A by PC, because this is at critical pressure. So critical pressure will be equal to A by 27 B square, right? So this is the second important conclusion we got, what will be the value of PC. Next, the third point which we can see is in equation 3, if we substitute rest of them, I will have this as 9 times of B is equal to B plus RT by P. So if I take this B to the left hand side, I will get this as RT by P, which is PC and TC, is equal to 8B, implies TC is equal to 8B into PC divided by R. So 8B times into PC, we just got it as A by 27 B square into R. So one B will get cancelled. I will have 8A by 27 RB. So therefore TC will be equal to 8A by 27 R into B. So we got PC, we got TC, okay, and we got VC as well. So PC we got it as 8a by 27 b square. Okay, so that means for any real gas I can always calculate what would be its critical temperature, pressure and volume using the critical parameters. Okay, I guess you guys understood that what is critical temperature, critical pressure and critical volume. Okay, mathematically you should be able to figure out what exactly these terms are. Theoretically, what are the questions that could be asked? Now check this out carefully. Okay, now I'm taking this image once again. We just put it here. This is just a theoretical discussion. I want you to observe carefully here how theoretically things are. Suppose if you check out the critical temperature, how it is being aligned. Yeah, right. In here, check this out. If a gas is at this particular state, okay, imagine gas is at this particular location. That means in terms of its coordinates. So the P is here. It has some P value, and this is the P value and V value, and some temperature. So the temperature graph will go like this. Got it? Like this. It would go and touch somewhere here, and it will go like this. This is how it would keep moving. Yeah. Right. So if this is the case at this point, from this point, imagine if at all I have to do liquefaction, what is the best way I can do? For liquefaction, from this point onwards, I can just increase the temperature. Do I have to change the temperature? Not needed at all. So without changing temperature, if I would just increase the pressure, I would reach to this point, and on further application of pressure, a small bit of pressure from here, drastically the gas, the vapor would completely convert into liquid. Okay, which means I'm getting a new definition for vapor as well. Okay, what is the vapor? Vapor is a particular state of gas or particular fluid. I can use the word fluid because fluid is a general term. It is a particular state of fluid from which you can liquefy only by applying pressure. So you can see that only by application of pressure this fluid can be converted into liquid. Okay. Now suppose from here, if at all I increase the temperature, can I say this is a different phase, this is a different phase, and here it is a different phase. Let me call this as phase 1, this as phase 2. I have increased the temperature. So when I increase the temperature, correct, just imagine I am keeping the constant volume. Obviously the pressure will increase. So the pressure has come to this point now. So this is the point where the pressure has raised. Okay. Now it is in a gas zone. From here onwards, at this constant temperature, I am trying to increase the pressure. So no matter how much pressure you increase, we will never be able to liquefy that gas. This is the next important conclusion. Okay. So from phase, I have changed the phase, right? So from gaseous phase, if at all I have to change it into liquid phase, it is not possible only by increasing pressure. At a constant temperature, it is not possible at all. Sorry. But imagine if at all I change temperature here. From this point, let me take this as a point A and this is a point B. So from this point, what I am doing, I am trying to go towards the liquid region, maybe at a constant pressure. At a constant pressure, if at all I start moving this way, then as you decrease the temperature, the volume will decrease now. Got it? What happens when the volume is decreased here? You're decreasing the you're decreasing the temperature. So volume will decrease and it will convert into liquid state. Okay. Now imagine this, from here you would see that this is all liquid here, correct? Sorry, that is all gas there, and this is all liquid on this side. Okay, at this point, at this juncture, this is the critical temperature points. These are all critical temperature points. You know that at critical temperature point, liquid and gas is in equilibrium with each other here, correct? Sorry, this is not the point. This one, this one, you can see these are all various points here where liquid is in equilibrium with gas. Okay, so if you check out that way here, no, that was the point, right? uh, this was the point, critical temperature point. Yeah, so it is in equilibrium here. So this is liquid, this is gas. So this is a liquid gas equilibrium which is existing. So do you see any kind of a phase change happening when you go from B towards this side, from B point towards this side? Do we see any kind of a phase change? We won't be able to see any phase change. It happens so smoothly that you'll hardly feel there is any change in the phase. In short, think this way. Okay, in short, think this way, that if initially at B point, at point B, this is a very important discussion, guys. It is given in NCERT. This discussion is given in NCERT just in 2-3 lines. Please understand this carefully. At this point B, it is like this. And as you keep decreasing the temperature, you would see the moment of particles may decrease like this. Slowly it will decrease. Got it? Slowly it will decrease, and as you decrease further here, correct? So as you come towards this point now, you would have liquid droplets and vapor gas, both would be present here, correct? So you would start seeing that, we will have suddenly one or two droplets here, and rest all will be gaseous phase, like this. This is the phase which you have, correct? I guess you guys have understood that. So from here what you will be able to see that this entire gas, oh sorry, my mistake. Now what I'm saying, right? So this one, you check it out. Yeah, so we can see that liquid droplets are falling, but you would hardly see any kind of a phase difference. You will not able to find out that there is an evident amount of liquid forming and there is an evident amount of gas that is converting. Okay, so you would see almost everything in the same phase. So what you will do, you will try to apply more amount of pressure. Imagine you are applying more amount of pressure. So what you will get, you will get into this region now, correct? This is the region where you will have this region. Observe it. This is the region I'm talking about. Okay guys, in this region what is happening? Left side there is liquid, right side there is gas, correct? But there won't be any kind of a phase difference which you will observe. So this particular phase, phase is what we call it as supercritical fluid, SCF. So supercritical fluid is that particular equilibrium where vapor, liquid, exists together at a very high pressure. Okay, liquid, gas exist at equilibrium at a high pressure. Like if you were taking a bath in a shower, okay, that is a supercritical fluid situation where you can see gas and water droplets, right? Both of them coming simultaneously, so it appears like a supercritical fluid. Got it? So supercritical fluid, you can observe that in deodorant bottles also. The liquid which is coming out of deodorant bottles, its behavior is both liquid as well as gas, correct? Because it is moving also like gases. At the same time, you can feel that liquid touching your skin, right? I hope you guys understood that. So this would be asked, like, where exactly is the zone of critical, supercritical fluid? So SCF here, SCF is called super critical fluid. So I hope you guys understood where exactly is the supercritical fluid existing. Yes, as per the graph. Any doubt there? Hey guys, are you following? Preetham, Karthik, Jashwant, any doubt beta? Are you sure? Should I continue? Okay, beta. Good. You have learned about first differentiation, second differentiation, and have you heard about point of inflection, something like that? Okay, just okay, cool. So just a brief understanding here. So I'll just take you through that. What we have noticed here, just above this dome, this is a type of dome which has a dome that has been formed. Okay, and just at the dome point, we have seen that this is kind of a sorry, some kind of a concave graph is slowly becoming convex situation. Yeah, like this convex situation, and then it is moving like this is what is happening at critical temperature. So at this point, what is happening, if you observe this is actually a concave graph and this is actually a convex graph, right? When concave and convex both meet at a point, that is called point of concavity, or also known as inflection point. Inflection point. So as per calculus, inflection point, okay, is that point where its first differentiation as well as second differentiation both are 0. So if this is y and x, I can say this as dy by dx is equal to 0 and dou square y by dou dx square is also equal to 0, but both of them are at, this is only valid at critical temperature. So you can use calculus also to calculate the critical temperature, critical volume and critical pressure. Okay, so I can write this way, that dou p by dou v at critical temperature is also equal to 0. Dou p by dou v, sorry, dou square p by dou v square at critical temperature is equal to 0. So you use these terms and you can again calculate the critical volume from here. So basically you differentiate this equation, P plus A by V square, differentiate with respect to P only, because it is a partial differentiation, rest of all them will be constant. So V minus B is equal to RT. So now if you differentiate that, it would be a constant value and you would be able to get that what is TC, PC, VC and so on. Okay. Now what we can say here, what we learned that PC, TC, VC values, just let me put that here once again. We learned that TC is 8A by 27 RB, PC is 8 by 27, no no, A by, correct, A by 27 B square, and VC we got it as 3B. These are the critical parameters which we learned. Suppose if we try to calculate what is the value of Z at critical parameters, what we can say, PZ will be equal to PC VC by NRTC, and N is 1 at critical parameters, right? We know that N is equal to 1 when we are defining critical parameters. So now Z value will be equal to A by, so I'll just substitute that, A by 27B square multiplied by 3B divided by 8A by 27 RB. So on calculating all of this, everything get cancelled here, except we will be left out with 3 by 8. You can see rest all are getting cancelled, and I'll get this as 3 by 8. Okay. Right. This is implying that it is less than 1. What does that represent? So that means at critical parameters, at critical parameters, real gas have more attractive forces, more attractive forces dominant, attractive forces dominant than repulsive forces. So this is a type of conclusion that has been asked in JEE, so I would suggest you remember that. Generally what we find out, generally it has been found out that critical temperature is almost equivalent to 1.6 times of that of normal boiling point, normal boiling point of that gas. So for example, if we talk about water, the normal boiling point of water is around 100 degrees, okay, 100 degrees centigrade. So critical temperature of water would be how much? It is around 160 degrees centigrade approximately. In fact, it will be more than that only. It is around 200 or so, but this is a minimum amount which you can get for most of the gases. So which means, can I say that below 200 degrees centigrade, we do not call water as water gas. We will always call it as water vapor, because most of the time, because the critical temperature is so high for water, anything below that, we can liquefy that water only by applying pressure. I guess you understood that what exactly is critical temperature, right? Like that, you can check out for carbon dioxide. For carbon dioxide, 31 degrees is the critical temperature. That means above 31 degrees, I can always call carbon dioxide as a gas. We don't use the word vapor for it. Below that, it would have that vapor property. Below that, we can just apply the pressure to convert into respective liquid or solid. Okay. So I guess that is clear. Another important note which you can check it out is that at critical temperature, density of liquid, because that is also existing, density of liquid and vapor, okay, or that is a gas also, even if you take that same scenario, will be same. At this point we would have same amount of temperature, same amount of same amount of density. So if density is same, all the factors would be same. So which means, got it, viscosity is same, got it, surface tension, got it, or kinetic energy of particles. Only at critical temperature, I'm saying, only at critical temperature we can say the kinetic energy, viscosity would be almost same at that particular point. Okay, because density is almost the same. Any doubt so far? I hope you guys understood critical parameters. Okay. See, this is very theoretical part. Hardly there would be any problem solving that has been asked in terms of mathematical terms, but mostly conceptual questions have only been asked in JEE so far. Okay, so all these conclusions, read them carefully line by line and understand them. Okay. Last concept, okay, this is more from physics point of view. In chemistry it is not there directly, but in thermodynamics this concept would be useful. Okay. So I'll just take that. It is called Joule-Thomson Joule-Thomson effect or Joule-Thomson experiment. Okay. I think you have started off with thermodynamics already, so you may have come across what is adiabatic. Huh? Oh, sir explained this. Okay, cool. So, that case, I'm not going into that. I'll just define one important term here. What is inversion temperature? You heard of that? Very good. So, inversion temperature Ti is 2 times of A by Rb is what you will get from this experiment. Okay, and the Joule-Thomson coefficient mu, which is defined as dou T by dou P at constant enthalpy. So this is an experiment done at constant enthalpy for real gases. Okay, so if you compare Boyle's temperature, which is A by Rb, and if you compare inversion temperature, it is 2A by Rb. So I can say that Ti is equal to 2 times of Tb. This is been asked actually. So only this temperature term is important for us. I hope you guys understood that.